I think we have seen people in high authority completely do the wrong things. We've got adulterous pastors. We've got grown men sleeping with kids. We've got people in office who are doing all kinds of things, but feeling like that there's some sort of difference between what I do in terms of my office, but not what I do in my personal life, because those are different.
That's why character is so crucial in leadership.
And we want to talk about Jesus' model for leadership. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. I think this, just getting right into it, this topic that we're talking about today, we have been having this business series, okay? I think this also goes into that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think this also goes into it. And we want to talk about the model, Jesus' model for leadership. And this particular subject, you might have heard a message on it before. You might have talked about it before. You might have watched a YouTube video on it before. But I want to really kind of dive into this particular subject and kind of bring out some tenets of strong leadership. Because today, I think we have seen people in high authority completely do the wrong things. Lead people all the way off the mountain.
Yeah.
We've got pastors who adulterous pastors. We've got grown men sleeping with kids. We've got people in office who are doing all kinds of things, but feeling like that there's some sort of difference between, oh well, don't just think about what I do in terms of my office, but not what I do in my personal life, because those are different. We're talking about leadership here.
Yep.
And so I want to kind of unpack this and also hand these people like a model, a blueprint, if you will, for, okay, this is what to look for. This is what a leader is. This is what it's not. And this is how I can move forward.
Gotcha. You know, I think I like the framework, because when people think about Jesus, you know, and I think about even growing up, before I really got into the word, understanding who Jesus really was, I saw him as this like mild, weak individual, you know what I mean? Really never really viewed him as a leader per se. Oh, you know, Jesus kind of nice to everybody, you know, whatever. But then as you kind of dig in and you understand who Jesus really is, you understand, for one, he's not just a model of leadership, he's a model of manhood, because he just stood up and had courage and spoke the truth every time, sacrificed himself. But as a leader, though, think about how he framed things. He had people following him, not because he was just, you know, charismatic. He had people following him because they saw him as a leader. And as a leader, and we'll get into this, how he structured everything. There was structure to what he did. You know, there was like a whole group of disciples following him at one point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he laid out, hey, who he was and his purpose, and, you know, they couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And so he was thinning them out.
I think so. The first key detail that I was thinking about when you both were describing what leadership looks like, I think that's a key thing that people need to look for. Is your leader transparent as far as what the principles are? You know, because like you alluded to, Martell, where a lot of times we have leaders to where, you know, even back in the day, I think about, it was always that saying that, you know, do what I say, not what I do. And, you know, and it never worked, because when you're watching, you're like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would I not do what I see you do, but you're telling me to, oh yeah, but go do something different. And I think in this generation, especially because, you know, we're in the information age where information is not a commodity, really. It's readily available. Everybody got a Google button. So when you have people to where, you know, you're saying, you know, this is the way it should be, people are actively vetting, like, all right, well, let me see the receipts. Let me, and that, in some ways, that's a great thing, because we need to flesh out and, like you said, weed out the ones that really aren't cut from that cloth.
So the first thing, the first tenet I think is that I want to talk about is character.
Okay.
A strong leader always has to have strong character. And to your point, it's like, it's not, when we talk about character, it's not it's not something that you have when people are watching you and not when people aren't. It's it's who you are, right? Your character is, well, in the definition of character, literally, it's like being a statue. If you go to the Eiffel Tower, it's not going to, just because you say you're ugly, it's not going to change how it feels about you.
Yeah.
You throw something at it, it's going to stay the same. If the wind starts to blow, it's going to stay the same. That's character. So it's like who I am behind closed doors and who I am in front of everybody should not be that much different. Yeah. Like, I'm doing private things in the bathroom. But in terms of character, like how I show up, it should be the same. Perfect example of this. I was running. So I just came back from Utah, and we were making some commercials and stuff like that. And one of the guys who's on the crew, he is about to go run a marathon. And I was like, oh, well, shoot, I know I'm not going to be able to really get to the gym. There's not even LA Fitness in the area that we're at. So I'll run with you. And so he runs obviously much longer distances than I am. I'm not a distance runner at all. So leading up to it, like for the last month beforehand, I'm like, okay, let me just start adding some running into my regular routine so I can be ready. And I don't want to be lying on the floor when we go for a run. And so I was getting ready for it. And then leading up to it, like I was figuring out how runners do the pacing and everything. And I'm like, at some point I might do a marathon now that I'm kind of understanding how they actually do it. But we got to the week, and so Monday we were super busy. It was hard to get it in. Okay, I understand. Pass. Tuesday we wake up, we go get it in, and we do a 5K, which is like a little bit over. I think it's 3 miles or a little over
3.2 miles. Yep.
So we do the 5K. First off, it's the longest distance I have ever ran in my life in one setting, okay? The longest distance I've ever ran. Me and this dude were supposed to be running every day of the week. Next morning, I wake up, and I'm like, yo, it's time. We got to go. Nowhere to be found. I go run. I get my 5K in for the second time. Now I've run 2 times longer than I've ever ran before. Third day comes up, and in the morning, we decide to shift the schedule a little bit. So the morning is not a good time because we got to get prepared for some stuff. Later on in the day, I find a little gap because everybody's, some people went to, take a quick nap before we jump into the next thing. Other people was just, let me do some stuff real quick over here. I decided, let me go ahead and get this run in. After this week ended, I done did 3 5Ks, only did 1. And he had some reason why he didn't do it every other day. And so for me, whether I'm in Michigan, whether I am over somewhere else overseas, whether I'm in another state, I am going to get what I need to get done no matter who's around, no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on. If I can make sure that it gets done, it's going to get done. There's a few things with me that don't change. I will be reading my Bible. I will be praying. I will be developing my mental state. I'm going to be learning something, and I'm going to take care of myself physically as well. That doesn't change wherever I'm at. And so it's like when we talk about character, it's like, oh, are you a person who just because this person's around you different, or just because you're over here, oh, you know what, I'll take a few more days off. Or when we're over here, actually because everybody else isn't really doing much, let me just go ahead and take this time off. Who are you?
Yeah, and you might even said it, and you said it in your words for sure, but character is about when nobody's looking.
Integrity, having integrity.
Yep. And it shows up, and I think like the example you gave, and I think that's the vetting part too. You meet people, and you learn their character by how they respond. But at the same time, if you're not careful, you can lose your character. If you, like in that case, you could say, well, he's not running, I'm not gonna run. And give yourself an excuse.
Easy.
Yeah.
Perfect excuse. It was right there on the table. I could have picked it up.
Yeah. So that not changing that, being that stature, your character, if you've got true character, well, I take this back. Even if you got bad character, it's going to be consistent. You know what I mean? You're going to consistently have bad character. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a muscle. It's like a muscle where it's going to either get stronger or it's going to get weaker because you're always working it out, whether you're doing it intentionally or not. In this example, your character got a little bit stronger. The other guy, a little bit weaker. It got revealed. It is what it is, And it's funny because I was thinking about that. We were literally just having this conversation with the kids that we mentor, the boys. And we were, basically telling them, like, first you got to define your character. What type, or principles, what type of man do you want to be? Do you strive to be? Then once you set the standard, then you have to almost have a regimen. All right, how do I keep living up to the standard? Because you're going to get tested. Like you said, every goal that you set, there's going to be things that magically pop up that are going to test your goal, your character. How bad do you really want that? You decide to go on a diet, all of a sudden the office bringing in pizza day every day this week, plus donuts. And you like, dog, we ain't never did this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just funny, but I think it's just a human experience that everything that we're doing, we have to be tested. And it made me think about the story of Matthew where Jesus and Satan was tempting him, where he was going through everything that we go through, fasting, just being hungry, kind of putting the bait out there. But if he would have succumbed to the bait, it would jeopardize the bigger picture. Yeah. And that's what we got to remember, that, when we have these goals, man, we got to stay on the mission. Not to say that you won't take detours. Sometimes you have to take a detour, but the mission still remains the mission.
It do. And then we're talking about, that's why character is so crucial in leadership. And, and using Jesus as that model, I mean, his character is unflawed. I mean, he was perfect. So, but the point, like you bring up the story, Matthew, when the temptation and all that, he was physically drained and weak. He was at his low. I mean, you just put ourselves in that same situation. You've been fasting for I don't know how long. You're physically drained and all that, and that's when your character gets challenged the most, is when you put under pressure. And he was constantly put under pressure, but his character was never compromised.
Another word I want to throw out, and I love that you went there. But to give me 1 second. But another word that I want to throw out is ownership and responsibility. How does that play into a strong leader?
Well, for one, I think if you're gonna lead, you got to own the fact that you're the leader, which means you are responsible. Whatever you lead in, you are responsible. Okay, let's use Jesus as a shepherd, right? He's a shepherd. He's leading the sheep. We the sheep. If one sheep is in trouble, you own it. If you lose a sheep, it's on you. You know what I'm saying? And as a leader, if we are responsible, I mean, I look as a team. If one person on the team fail, I got to own that. I played a part in that. And if we don't make it as a team, that failure is mine. I have to own that.
When you're the leadership in a leadership role, the buck has to stop with somebody. And when you go to the subordinate roles, a lot of times, we used to call it, what do you call it, throwing it to the other desk.
Throwing it over the fence.
Throw it over the fence. Yeah, we throw it to the other guy. But end of the day, somebody has to step up and say, you know what? I'm not gonna just throw this pile over to another guy. The buck stops here, and whatever it entails for us to resolve this issue and get through it, we have to do it. And to me, that's what I think of when you say like ownership. How does it play in the total leadership? Because what happens is leadership reflects attitude at lower levels. So when you're the leader and you're doing things that, not necessarily your role, but need to get done, that can actually bring up other subordinates in your team. Yeah, I don't even say subordinates, but other members of the team in different roles. Because they're like, well, man, he willing to do this. I'm going to go do it too, because I see the leader stepping out of his role and he's taking on different tasks because it's for the greater good. It has to get done.
When it comes to ownership, it's like for example, say you hired somebody on your team and let's just say this is a traditional business and you've got the normal interview process where, you sit somewhere, they come in and they, you have a conversation, everything like that. Now, one thing that I recommend is throw something on the ground. Throw something on the ground that you know is in the path between where they're going to come in and where you're going to be at. Because what happens is there's going to be a group of people who walk in. Everybody's going to look at it. You know they're going to see it. Some of them are going to pass by, sit at the table, have a fantastic conversation with you. But somebody is going to pick it up, take responsibility, take ownership, pick it up, throw it away, then proceed to you. That person is different. There's something different about that person right there. And when it comes to like ownership, it's like, that's why like people have the conversation of like, well, no, everybody's not a leader. Everybody was built to be a leader. We were created to be. We were created to have dominion. And it's like, the thing is, a big part of that is taking ownership of your purpose, of what you're called to do. So it's like, if I'm in my lane, it's like, if video is my thing, I stand up and I lead in that area. I'm not waiting on Rodney to tell me to set the camera up.
Yeah.
That's my spot.
Yep.
That's what I do, right?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to that, like if I'm looking at my team, it's like, if I know that something's on the table and you're the best to do it, I shouldn't have to tell you to do it. You know that's you.
Yeah.
Kids, the trash ain't been taken out. Take the gosh dang trash. Why do I need to tell you? You know what I mean?
That's we started on that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about
that's an age-old question.
It is. But as we talking about this, I think about, it's that time of year, football season, right? I think about football coaches. And well, I'm not going to go into names. One NFL coach just got fired not too long ago. And you think about it. He's the leader of the team. The Jets, my man in the Jets. Hey, the team didn't play well or whatever. He's the leader.
Yep.
And in a sense, as a coach. And he took the hit. So was it his fault that they didn't play well? It wasn't totally all his fault. But as a leader, you own what happens to the team.
But got to stop somewhere.
It do. And that, I should have. So that whole thing about being a good leader, doing everything, showing that you're not above anything. Yep. Like Jesus washing the feet of the disciples. That was like the worst job, because back then they wore sandals, your feet was dusty, it was grimy. That the lower servant would do that. So he's showing, look, he's leading, but at the same time he's showing, hey, look, I'm here to serve.
Shoot, the fact that he came in the flesh at all.
Yeah, he got.
He didn't have to.
No, he got.
He made us, and then we messed up, and he's like, you know what? Let me go down and fix it.
Yeah. As soon as we messed up, he had a plan to save us.
He took ownership.
Yeah.
But I wanted to circle back. I found the verse. I love that you mentioned it. That Matthew 4:1. Okay, that's when then Jesus led up. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. One word that I want to go back to specifically is tempted. Now, I know in the traditional sense, we're thinking about like, oh, well, it's a donut and I shouldn't be eating donuts, something like that. But tempted, when you break down that word, in its definition, is testing.
Yeah.
Your character is tried through test. So it's like when you ask God, oh, God, make me a leader. Help me to have a stronger character. I want to have integrity. That's an incredibly dangerous prayer, because tests are gonna come. Now you're gonna be tried. Oh, you said you're strong, right? All right, watch this. Oh, you said you got this. Your financial game is on point. Okay, what about this? Oh, you said you faithful. Okay, what about her? Test. The temptation, definition, test. If you're not ready to be tested, then don't ask for more.
Yeah. It's so crucial too, man, because people naturally just want to talk about the fruits of passing tests. And you gotta quickly remind, like I always tell you, like real estate, everybody, almost 10 times out of 10, people are skip to where I'm at now, or where I'm going, or what they think is cool about this. Oh, you're an entrepreneur, and I'm like, listen, man, let's go back to the beginning. where the tests were. Or even still, I'm still facing, we were just talking about it not too long ago. I'm like, every stage that you pray for and God grants you, it also presents more tests. And a lot of times, we're not prepared for this. That's the whole reason it's a test. If you knew the answers, it's not a test. It's not a test. You're cheating, you know. And that's a different subject, because we do talk about the cheat codes and the blueprints. We're not talking about that right now, though. No. We're talking about when you're genuinely, because that's the thing. When you go through those internal tests that, maybe you don't really communicate to other people about, but God, he knows and he's watching.
Yep.
And then when you're trying to skip past that and ask for other things, like, well, hold on, I would love to get that to you. But you never passed this. You still struggling with this.
Yeah, how can you do trigonometry if you haven't learned to do addition and subtraction yet?
What'd you call it?
Trigonometry.
Trigonometry. Right. I think you said trigonometry.
I said it wrong. It didn't come out right. I should have said algebra. I should have said algebra.
I know what you're talking about.
Trigonometry, y'all. Trigonometry. That's not how I said it first. But the point, how can you do that if you don't learn addition and subtraction first?
I want you to give them that verse that you always reference. I believe it's in John. But you're like, the testing of your faith produces perseverance.
Oh, yeah. It's actually James. It's James. Yeah.
James.
James. Trials, we all go through trials, and trials, they build perseverance.
Let perseverance do its work.
Yep. So trials build us up, pretty much.
We need it.
We do.
There was one of the, so building up that experience, breaking down that word experience, it goes also back to character. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting, this character thing. God cares about it. It's like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because it's really the only thing that matters. It's who you really are, man. It's kind of like,
you really are.
You have to be who you are, wherever you find yourself. And I used to think about this because I used to travel a lot, just internationally too. And it was always interesting. I used to seek out quiet moments to myself where I'm looking at nature, I'm just kind of in my thoughts. And one thing that I've always tried to do is like, look, you gotta be who you are. Mm-hmm. You a man over here, you gotta be a man over here. It's like, and that's the whole thing. Like, you have to know the character that you're striving to get to first. Mm-hmm. And foremost, before you can live up to that standard.
Yeah.
Crazy thing, and I'm gonna tie it in again. I mean, you will not get away from this. If leadership is something that you think that a role that you in, or something that you aspire to, it's all throughout the Bible. We were made in the image of God, His likeness. Image. It's also character. When you pray in the name of Jesus, the name is the authority and the character of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you need to show up a certain way if you're expecting the privileges of being a kingdom citizen. Yeah. There's a character that comes with that. So it's like, if you feel like you've been praying and it's hitting the ceiling and falling back to the floor, what's your character like?
That's it, man. It's funny how time goes by so quick. And I'm glad you broke these pieces up. We're going to need to bring back, as we kind of get to the end of this piece, some other elements of this leadership piece. I mean, because the character piece is huge. Because you got some leaders who are, I would say, they have the gift of leadership, but they lack the character. And I mean, you talk about some pastors who are gifted. They are gifted leaders, but they lack character. Yeah. You got some business leaders who are brilliant leaders, but they lack character, which means that they can put the pieces together, they can get a team, evaluate the team and all that, but the character is such where you wouldn't want to follow them, not outside of whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to model what they do. You know what I'm saying?
Foundation.
Yeah. And it's going to lead to, and it will lead to destruction. It will. I don't care what the situation is. That if someone misses character, they will fall.
Another word that I want to throw out, and I don't know, vision.
And that's a whole different. I think Mike might have even touched on it a little bit earlier, but the point is that you got to, knowing that purpose, right? Because I think you used the word purpose. Knowing that purpose is part of having, I should say it's not part of your vision, but if you know what your purpose is, okay, God has told, and all of us, some stage or another, he's told us what he wanted to do. And he said, hey, this is what it looks like. And he'll get you to a certain point, and then all of a sudden, he pushes the vision out and then make it even bigger, okay? So you need to know, okay, as you walking towards that purpose and you see the initial vision and then you get to a certain point, it's like, well, it's bigger than this. Now, instead of, and I use the ministry as an example, it's like, hey, it started off, like I said, I told the story before, we're gonna do this in the loft and, just put on YouTube and so forth. Then it turned into, we're gonna do a virtual service every Sunday. Now we gotta integrate some, what we're gonna do for men and women, all that. Then it started to grow, okay, you know what? This is gonna be bigger than that. It's gonna be more of a network and other satellites. It's gonna be, it's gonna be how do we get the word out to the community? So the vision grows and changes, but he builds you. So you never should stop having a vision.
Yeah, and the whole thing is the vision is not necessarily like the human realm of what we consider. Because I think about walk by faith, not by sight. You're only going to be able to see so many steps ahead. And I think it's purposeful. It's the way God designed it, because if we knew all things, then we would be like God. It's not our role. Our role is to be humans at this point and just have faith. That's where faith comes in, where you do have to have a vision of where you're going to go, but you also have to we have to understand God's will is always going to trump anything, because we may think we going down one path and then God brings a whole curveball in and hey, I'm taking you over here. And you have to be obedient, use discernment and say, okay, this is from God. First clarify, because, the devil can sow a seed too.
He sure can.
And that's where you got to clarify where these thoughts coming from, where, what's my true purpose? And once it's been clearly identified, then you just plow ahead.
A leader walks by faith and not by sight. To the point that you were making, Rodney, I think there's a certain, depending on your perspective or standpoint, you only see so much. So if I was standing behind that door, I couldn't see this full room. If the door was closed, I can't see the full room. I'd have to open it to be able to see, okay, this is what's happening here. But if I'm behind the door thinking about what I'm going to do inside of this room, the things I'm going to change up, what I might build, what I'm going to put on the wall, and I can't see it, then I'm limited. Once I open the door, I can gain a new perspective. God can show me, okay, this is what it actually looks like. This is what we can do in here. But to the point of vision here, if you call yourself a leader and you don't know where you're going, how are the people going to follow you there? Just literally here. It doesn't even make sense. You ain't got nowhere that you going. You have no destination to strive for. You've got no internal idea of what direction to go in. How can anyone jump on board and help you to fulfill that mission? That just won't happen.
No.
I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say it does happen though. A lot of people are following leaders that they don't follow them blind. My bad. I didn't want to interrupt, but I did declare.
No, but you're right, and I think that's the other thing too. And I know we could go down this hole, but to the point you made, and you see it, because here's the thing too. You got individuals that had a vision, and let's say they realized it to a certain degree, and to the point that you kind of alluded to too, is that now all of a sudden they have no other vision. They stuck, and they got a group of people stuck with them. So if you are following someone who's leading, who has no vision, the Bible said, hey, my people perish because of lack of vision. And they will perish. They will sit there sitting still and not moving forward is moving backwards. Yeah.
Everybody's taking a nice little stroll.
Yeah.
We don't know where we're going.
We don't know where you're going. No, if you go out and you ran, right? You had a route. You visualize what your route is. But if you go out and just run, and you have no route, you don't know where you're going. You don't know if you're gonna do 5K or not.
Thing is about putting Jesus back on the scene here. The thing about him when it comes to having a vision is because he has a direction that he's going in, you can't pull him off course without him knowing it, right? He's not led in any sort of direction. He's got a very specific path. You can't dangle, hey, perfect example, what you were talking about. Satan brought Jesus up to the mountain, said, hey, look, if you just jump off, look, or hey, look, take it a step further. If you just bow down to me, I'm going to give you all of this. It's yours. I mean, what you doing all this work for? I can just hand this to you. But because Jesus knew what he was there for, he knew this ain't it. There's certain things that this doesn't map out. Me bowing down to you doesn't look like the purpose for which I was created. So if I do this, that doesn't necessarily line up. Take it to the context of today. We've got people who are in a position knowing good and well they were created for something else, but they stay there because it's comfortable. They stay there because they've gotten complacent. They stay there because they're too afraid to step out on faith and do what God actually told them to do.
Therefore, they're moving backwards. Go ahead.
Like the example we used when Satan brought Jesus up, we got to remember every elevation is not from God. And that's what I was thinking about when you're saying, like, it's people in position. I've seen a lot of people work in the world and they have worldly riches. But some of these elevations aren't of God. No. Just because, that's why I always tell people, be careful about who you idolize based off what you think that they have. Oh, well, they must be doing good. They like a millionaire, or you don't know what these people, you don't know what's going on behind that curtain.
No, you can look at, I know we got to get to the end, but you look at Puffy. Billionaire, I'm sure he had a vision. He did create a network, all these different things. But man, he lacked character. Okay.
Facts.
Okay, let's be honest.
There we go.
And another thing, just throwing it to you guys are talking, like, Jesus wasn't 2.0. He wasn't surprised by nothing. And as a leader, you can't allow yourself to be surprised. Judas, he knew Judas was going to betray him. Now he told him, go do what you got to do. Because he knew his purpose. He knew he had to die. He knew basically somebody had to play that role.
There's a way this is
supposed to happen, And as a leader, and you guys, your contractors or whatever, we deal with different people. You hope and you pray that people don't do these things, but you know that somebody gonna let me down.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Every chance they get. Some people make it their business to let you know. That's a different podcast.
There was one, I want to circle back just a little bit, not too much, but on the perspective piece. I think it's so interesting how God gave all of the animals and all the people, we all have sight. Do you have eyes? Unless you're blind, of course. But we have sight. We can see what's in front of you. You can see what's in this room. But he didn't give every creature vision. That's us.
No, you're right.
That's us.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's being able to see what's not there. Oh, sounds spooky. But
no,
that's a visionary leader is a leader who is led by faith. The reason that I say that is because there's something that isn't there that he knows he or she knows that they can get to if they just keep on moving forward.
Exactly. Look, we need to put a period on this though, and maybe come back to it. I think we do need to come back to it, to be honest. In the business series.
In the business series, yes. So, you want to wrap?
Yeah, that's a wrap. It's like, no, but we all have different things going on, and it's all aligned to the greater purpose, greater vision. Myself, I like to hold the flag of being a father, being a businessman, building up the city of Detroit, one house at a time. We have merch. You want to support, just feel free. Come check us out on Instagram at DetroitInvestor_WCI.
All right. Hey, join us on Sundays at Freedom of Christ Ministry, 11:30 a.m. Come out and check us out in person, 28202 Franklin Road in Southfield, Michigan. We also have virtual services shows every Sunday, and actually through the week. You can check that out on YouTube as well. And look, Man 2.0, you've heard about it. Now come check it out. Men get together the second Saturday every month. Come together, understand how God built us and what he built us for. So if you're trying to understand what you need to do to be a leader, first you need to understand how God created you to be a leader.
And I want to mention this. If you haven't already heard about it, I want to present it again. Hey, look, if you've been reading the Bible, okay, this is the problem. If you've been reading the Bible and you don't understand it, you're having difficulties like understanding what translation to use, or you don't have a real habit of reading the Bible, or it's like we just went through this entire episode. We just broke down the definition of multiple words. We talked about character in here. We talked about wisdom before. We talked about integrity. We've got being in the image of God, doing things in Jesus' name. And you read the same verses, but you didn't get what we just talked about. We got something for you. It's called the How to Read and Study the Bible Guide. It's completely free. It's presented by Freedom in Christ Ministry. It's in the information below. It's a video training with a companion guide as a bonus to help you walk through everything that's inside of that video training. And so the thing is, it helps you to understand what the Bible is really saying without you having to have a degree in theology, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's going to give you it one setting, 37 minutes and 30 seconds. You will now be able to understand the Bible at a completely different level. It's in the information below. I certainly hope that if you're one of those people that we were just talking about, that you go ahead and get it, okay? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. We appreciate you for being here. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like it, share it with somebody who might have some questionable leadership. And somebody who you think does an amazing job with leadership, just to give them some reinforcements. Thank you for being here, and we hope to see you next week.
Peace.